What's up, HypnoFam? Today I'm going to be sharing with you some paradoxical smoking cessation strategies. I'm going to pull those up in a minute here. As some of you know, I've been on a mission to help 1,000 people quit smoking in the next 15 months. That's going to occur. I'm absolutely thrilled about it. And then the next phase here is going to be helping 1,000 hypnotherapists each help 1,000 people quit smoking. That's 1,000,000 people. It's going to be an amazing movement. I can't wait to share it with you. Let's dive into those smoking cessation strategies. I think we've got about 12 or 13 of these I want to get through. So these are paradoxical smoking cessation strategies and tips to accelerate client success. The number one thing here that comes to mind when I started, I was comparing my success rates to those in the industry. And for the longest time, I didn't realize that they were measuring their success rates based off of money back guarantees. And so this should really give you some solace if you're starting out, right? You might be comparing yourself apples to oranges in a way. This can quell your comparison anxieties because you're going to have a completely different success rate if you actually reach out to clients and see if they quit smoking. I know this firsthand because I watched my mom, my aunt, my uncle, and my grandma all pass away from smoking related causes. I could tell you my mom got a second chance at life after being in a long-term acute care facility. After getting home, hospital did a fantastic job bringing her back to health, and 6 months later she passed away. She never told anybody she went back to smoking. You have to understand, folks are really beating themselves up about this. They feel hopeless. They feel like it just has a hold of them. They can't even really conceptualize what it would like to be free of it, and they don't even know if they really want it because it's so scary for them and daunting. So there's a lot of hesitation. So one of the things I did with my clinic is I actually reached out to those folks and followed up with them and had those post-session conversations. And it was one of the best things I did from a business standpoint, but also from a skill enhancement standpoint, which really helped set myself apart in the market. So from a business standpoint, an amazing source of referrals, because not only did I just do the session and then leave them to their own devices and just mark that as a winner, hoping that's what happened, I actually got referrals from them for following up. And think about the how amazing that is from a human to human sort of marketing standpoint. I actually just care about these people and I want to see them quit. It wasn't about just the money for me. So it's an incredible thing there. And then all the different things that went wrong, I got to learn a bunch from that. I got to understand just how difficult this problem is for them, what's really going on inside of them, and what's keeping them stuck. So it looks completely different when I work with someone that wants to quit smoking versus more of a traditional approach, because I'm used to navigating all the different challenges underneath the surface of smoking as the presenting problem. Take solace knowing that if you're comparing your success rates to other people, you just stop doing that. You're on your own race, you're on your own path. That's my logo over here. You're on the path, stay on the path. It's going to be great. Number two, cover versus discover. I remember spending so much time preparing for each smoking cessation session. Why would they trust their unconscious mind if you're not going to? So giving them the space they need to be able to access that is absolutely fantastic. All the most brilliant moments of a hypnotherapy session are those spontaneous things that occur as you're on that moment-to-moment journey with that client and you're trusting their unconscious mind, where that client can begin to explore their inner reality in a new, more powerful way. And as a result of that, they discover what they need to make the changes. So what that means is now when we approach smoking cessation, if we carry that theme out to its logical conclusion, we just start the session and we can utilize that client's moment-to-moment experience of reality as the gateway into trance, trance is the gateway into learning. It's a brilliant way to work with people because, again, we know the cigarettes aren't the real problem. It actually makes this work a lot easier for us. I wrote here as an example saying stop versus quit smoking. I remember getting hung up. Should I say stop smoking or quit smoking in a session? And I was worried about the different impact of those suggestions. That's the furthest thing from reality in terms of what's going to help that person quit smoking permanently. Think about that. I was hung up about that. The smoking's not even the real problem. It's all this other stuff going on. So you can free yourself of all the different things you care about in terms of what I need to cover in this session. It's not going to be a tenth as important as what you discover with that person on that moment-to-moment journey. Number three, financial reality. This is a really big one, and I want to give a shout out to leaders in our industry because they're going to tell you things like you absolutely have to charge money, and I think they're doing it with the best intentions for you because they're saying, hey, you got to charge money because they probably just want you to start charging because you deserve it and you're putting all this training in, you really care and you want to help people. But the reality is that is 100% a myth. I have helped people quit smoking for free. You've seen video evidence of me doing it on TikTok live. I can't even see the person. I can't hear them. I'm reading text off of a screen. That's all I have to go off of. And then you see the video testimonials later of those people saying, I stumbled into this person's live. I don't know what happened, but I don't smoke anymore. It's incredible. I didn't make a dime from them. And some of those folks even shared with me, Vinny, I had no interest in quitting smoking. I came in there not to troll me, but they were like, who's this trying to get me to quit smoke, whatever. And that was their attitude coming in. So in no way were we set up for success, but the reality, it was never about me in the first place. It was the ability to help that person explore what they needed to make different choices in their life. All of that being said, you absolutely should charge. In fact, I need you to. If we're going to achieve this goal of helping 1 million people quit smoking, you're going to have to do this work full time, which means you're going to have an income from it to be able to support yourself, to keep your lights on, and develop all the other skills that go along with running a successful clinic of any kind. So I need you to charge money. If you're not doing it for yourself, do it for me, do it for the mission, get over whatever that is. I'm okay with 10, maybe 15 free sessions in the beginning just to get testimonials. We have one very specific purpose in mind for promotional purposes. Now you've got proof of concept. You could say, look, I've done it. Here you go. Take a look at these. But after that, you've got to charge money. It's incredibly important to make this stuff happen. Unless you want to do it part-time, that's your choice. But if you want to do this full-time, you have to have revenue. Number 4, understanding threshold and utilization. I tied these two together because I think they're incredibly important. So a lot of times what will happen is if a session doesn't go well, a hypnotist might say, well, that's because the client wasn't at threshold. And what they mean by that is the client wasn't necessarily at a genuine point of commitment. And so a lot of the troubleshooting that takes place from there is, well, did you charge enough? Did you do this? Were they compliant through your sales process? What were the red flags? You got to take a step back and realize this client, for them even to reach out to you, they had to overcome so much resistance and uncertainty they felt internally. They're actually taking on a fairly big feat of bravery. Now you got to be able to utilize that. You got to understand what they went through to be able to raise their hand and say, hey, I need help with this. And they're willing to spend a ton of money with you and set aside time. And now we're saying they're not at a threshold. Now there's a chance that is the case, right? There's a chance they were just doing all of those things to check some superfluous box in their mind. But a lot of times, in my experience, that's not what's really happening. We have an orientation problem where I'm approaching smoking cessation as if I can do it for you. I cannot do it for that client. I tell folks I have a 0% success rate. I've helped all these people quit smoking. You've seen the videos, the testimonials, etc. I have quit smoking exactly 0 times for any of those people. They have done it all. You'll never be smart enough, intelligent enough, charismatic enough, have enough certifications, taken enough trainings. You'll never have enough experience to quit smoking for someone else. They have to find what they need to within themselves. So questions of threshold often wind up breaking down more into our ability to utilize what resources are there right in front of us. But if we're not willing to join that moment-to-moment reality with that client on the sales call and throughout the duration of the session, we're not going to be able to leverage things as easily as possible. And we're going to be stuck trying to do things to help that client figure out how to quit versus them just figuring out themselves. So hope all that makes sense. If not, ask questions. I love talking about this stuff. Addiction versus habit. This is a really important thing to consider. Approaches in a paradigm that I see most often. One is that, hey, this is just an addiction and that's all we have to do is handle that. And so a lot of different approaches happen there. Nicotine replacement therapy, etc. But different types of courses and counseling, different approaches out there see this as an addiction and they want to deal with it that way. Other folks will say, no, you know what you need to, you actually need to reframe the entirety of that smoker's experience as a habit. And from there, we can start to work with it. I don't want to give unnecessary power to addiction or to habit. And if we're saying this can't possibly be an addiction and we do even our best job to convince them this is a habit, just as an example. We're working with a client and we're doing our best to help them understand that they have it all wrong. It's not an addiction, it's a habit. And if something should go wrong, or if they don't completely believe you or understand it that way, there's a good chance it can unravel the work we're doing. And we're making addiction into some boogeyman that we can't overcome. But the reality is the majority of people that quit smoking believe they are addicted. So it's completely irrelevant in terms of helping that person quit. We can just meet them where they are. And the smoking isn't even the real problem anyway. You'll hear me say that over and over. I can't help it. I think an important element of that paradigm is understanding this is a chemical problem and there's elements that are mental, emotional, more psychological. This is a huge sales tip for you, by the way. If you're working with someone, if you're talking with them, just ask them, do you think quitting smoking is just a chemical problem? And it's amazing to see how quickly they will now start to consider all the other elements of this problem that are keeping them stuck. This does a lot of the sales work for you because then you just say, I can help you with those. So let me give you an example. Slow down here a little bit. If I'm talking to someone that wants to quit smoking, I might say exactly that. Do you think quitting smoking is just a chemical problem? They say no. Oh, cool. What other things do you think are involved? They list a bunch of stuff. Those are related to more of the mental, emotional sides of quitting smoking. They say, yes, great. And so what percentage would you weight these in terms of importance for you to become a non-smoker? Would you say this is primarily a chemical problem? Or is it 50-50 mental, emotional? Would you say it's more 70 to 90% mental, emotional? What percentage would you put on it? And typically they weight it way heavily on the mental, emotional side, and they put very little onus on the chemical components. And now we can leverage that new understanding. I can say, okay, great. To the extent this is not just a chemical problem, does it make sense why chemical solutions have failed you in the past? They say, yes, that makes total sense because nicotine replacement therapy is only handling that one element of it. And what are the chances you're going to be smoke free a couple of years from now if we don't handle all the other parts of this that aren't chemical? And they go, oh, yeah, now they understand the problem differently, and your solution is going to make a lot more sense to them. Number 7, influence beyond prestige. So, prestige is absolutely incredible when you have it. It's amazing how much you can leverage out of it. The problem is when you're starting out, you're not going to have any prestige because no one knows who you are. But you don't need it, and you can actually tap into a much more potent form of influence way beyond that of prestige just by learning to work with the client in front of you in such a way that they can explore their internal resources and find whatever it is that's holding them back and make different choices. This does not help when you start your career. And then the sub point here I have is a leader's most important job is to create other leaders. Never let a certain reputation you have slow you down from going out and building the practice of your dreams. The reality is everybody that you've ever admired started exactly where you are. So that should be a source of encouragement that you don't have it because it just means you're going to get it. You just got to stay on the path. That's the first bullet point. The second one here, a leader's most important job is to create other leaders. That's why we approach everything with a client-led journey in my program. Clients need to be empowered to lead themselves. True leadership creates other leaders. That's the meta of what we're doing. And this is why you see the multidimensional effects in my testimonials. It's not just that people quit smoking, but they do better at business, or they go out and they run a marathon. Now they're raising money for some of the most vulnerable people in our society, whatever it might be that they take on. But it's because we're giving them an opportunity to really explore what matters to them the most. Smoking cessation becomes easy when they start to figure these things out. And number 8, rethinking pre-talk necessity. I think this is a big one. You've seen me help people quit smoking without using them. A good pre-talk is quite lengthy, and you're doing your best to anticipate all the different things a client might experience as a result of your protocol or your approach. Whereas I just don't do any of that. I'm just going to join that client's moment-to-moment experience, and then whatever happens, we're going to utilize it, which is kind of a different way of working. But again, it's a 100% client-led, and I find this to be more effective and faster. So rethinking that pre-talk necessity, it's going to get you a bunch of time back. I remember I spent so much time trying to master that. And I think it's funny that I don't use them anymore. And it'd always be a bit awkward too when I was in a session with folks and I would maybe run them through a pre-talk and they would have this amazing epiphany or new understanding or just some kind of type of an emotional trigger. And all this organic, beautiful stuff would come up that they'd want to share. And I would get frustrated because I've got another 40 minutes of pre-talk ahead of me. This session's going to be 3 hours. So I stopped using them and I got better results, which is really cool. So rethink the necessity there in terms of beliefs and expectations. There's only one singular belief that's crucial, and that's the potential for transformation. I like to think about it like this. If I'm not going to trust that client's unconscious mind, why would they? So why am I working so hard? Ultimately, they have to do it anyway. Like I said before, I can't quit smoking for them no matter how awesome I think I am. It's just not going to happen. How much training, experience, etc. Their unconscious mind can do it though, and it can be easy for them. I got to get out of the way. So that's the only belief and expectation that I bring into a session. Number 10, that you have to do this type of work in person. No, that's absolutely not the case. I've referenced a lot here. I've helped people quit smoking over TikTok Live. If you don't believe me, it's on my YouTube, the Organic Hypnosis Training Center. You can watch the recording. Effective sessions can be conducted wherever. Once we understand that we can just leverage that client's experience as the gateway into trance is the gateway into learning, it doesn't matter what platform we've used. I've helped people quit smoking over Zoom when there were several distractions around. They just used it as a form of fractionation. They got distracted, came back, got distracted, came back. Pretty soon they're not distracted anymore because they're in a different universe, right? So it's kind of fun. Just leverage what's around you. Uncover real problem. Smoking is a symptom, not the core issue to address. We've already kind of talked about that, but ultimately this comes down again to what we discover. Number 12, change happens in the session. This is a huge misconception. The most important work will always happen after the session. I don't care if the person quits smoking in front of me. I want non-smokers in the real world. There's that beautiful experience after a hypnosis session where you're kind of coming out of trance and you feel incredible and grounded, but the real world is not like that. There's a lot of challenges that they're going to face. So what we need to be able to do is leverage that. We need to be able to help them understand that that's the most important work, and healing doesn't always feel the way we might think it would. I use this metaphor a lot. If you cut your hand, you might think that the healing didn't start until you see the blood coagulate, the bleeding slow down, the scars start to form. Maybe you put a bandage on it. You go, okay, cool. Now my hand is healing. But the reality is the healing started as soon as you cut your hand. Immediately, your unconscious mind started rushing all those resources to the fore to handle that issue. There's all these really cool autonomic responses taking place. Even though it doesn't feel like it and you're not able to judge what that healing is in the moment, it's still happening, whether or not you're aware of it. So what I want my clients to understand when they leave my session is that whatever they feel is the correct thing unless they're lying to themselves about it. I don't care if they feel angry, sad, happy, filled with energy, etc. I don't even care if they have cravings. It's completely irrelevant to me. I need them to understand that this is the path to healing for them and that their job is to judge what they feel, right? I need them to experience it fully, just become aware of it, and then move on throughout their day. Okay, cool. I'm feeling kind of like this. That's fine. I'm going to move on. It's okay for me to feel that way. Just having that moment with themselves is super powerful for them. I can't stress that enough. If you take nothing else away from this, start to apply that immediately into your work. Embracing spontaneous moments and utilizing the unknown as your best friend when working with clients. I think this is another one of the most powerful things I've learned on this journey. I don't really care what shows up in a session. I've had people have entire panic attacks, freaking out just by me asking one or two questions a few seconds into the session, and they're having this experience because things happen to them with association smoking that should never happen to anybody, let alone a child or whatever was going on at the time. Developing the ability to utilize the unknown, to be okay with discomfort, and be able to use space for that client to feel comfortable exploring what's really going on. It's life-changing for people. I could talk about that for hours. I'm just going to move on to the next section here to keep this kind of short. Let's talk about what's required to quit. It's a shift in their internal reality. How can I help that client create the shift in their internal reality until they understand it? This is a super powerful thing to understand. When we start our session work this way, smoking cessation becomes easy. And to shift their internal reality as fast and as efficiently as possible, we just need to meet that client where they are. And the easiest way to do that is to join their moment-to-moment reality. Use their experience as the gateway into trance. And trance can now become the gateway to learn whatever they need to internally to shift their internal reality. It's so much faster, and I don't have to try to quit smoking for them or guess the right protocol or approach. All of that stuff becomes irrelevant because of the UN, the unconscious mind, the unlimited model. That directs the session. It's 100% client-led in that way. Next item. That might be a bit difficult to conceptualize, so let's walk through an example. So some surface level reasons people don't quit smoking, right? They might say it's addiction, it's weight gain, it's a habit, it's stress, nicotine withdrawal, social groups. All my friends are smokers. I've tried before, I'm bored, it's not the right time. You kind of get the picture. There's a bunch of different reasons people are going to tell you that they can't quit smoking, but everybody that's quit smoking has experienced these things before. So we know right off the bat they're not true. Those are not the things that are keeping people from becoming non-smokers. Hopefully this ties together a really important principle that real reasons are to be discovered in a session. So here's an example. Emotional content. Cigarettes are my best friend, right? I could say, gotcha. You know, your best friend kills 8 million people per year, 7 million from direct tobacco use, according to the World Health Organization. So even just saying that to him, it's going to have a level of impact. We call this level one effectiveness or level one impact. However, the multiplier of that statement comes when they realize it and the emotional content tied to it. And these are going to be discovered spontaneously during the session. So I want to give you a quick example. I might say, yeah, I understand that you feel like cigarettes are your best friend. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And they'll say, well, you know, it's always there for me. And I've had some really trying experiences in my life. And the one thing I could rely on was that moment of solace when I could go have a smoke break with myself, despite all these different horrendous things that have happened to me. And so just continue, let them continue to share all the different affinities they have towards cigarettes. And then naturally go, okay, so why do you even want to quit? It's not up to us to quit, right? I want them to tell me that why they want to quit. They go, oh, well, I'm getting older. My health is starting to decline. I'm worried about the example I'm setting for my children, my grandchildren, whatever it might be. Okay. And then we might explore that same bit of information. I understand that you feel like cigarettes are your best friend, yet do you think you deserve better than a best friend that makes you feel this way, that makes you feel like you're risking the time you have with the people you love the most? You look in the mirror and you hate yourself for hanging out with that best friend. You wish you never would have did it in the first place. You wish you would be free of it. Do you feel like you deserve a better best friend than that? And it doesn't matter what they say at that point. Either yes, and we explore that, or no, and we explore that. There's this expression that all roads lead to Rome. And then for the longest time, I've said all roads are Rome. But really, there's just the road. It doesn't have anything to do with Rome. We just use whatever comes up. They could say, no, I don't feel like I deserve a better friend than that. Well, tell me about that now. Now we're to something very powerful. That person's whole life's going to change. They might say, yeah, I do. So that's an interesting place to be. Now tell me about this best friend of yours. Oh, I think I don't want to be their friend anymore. Great, right? I am not doing any of the work. But you see how the impact of that was leveled up and multiplied dramatically just by me taking a step back, not trying to steer the session, not trying to trap them into something. I don't care about that. Ultimately, I want them to come up with the realization necessary to help them get leverage over this thing. Now they can't look at it the same way. It's not a best friend. It's a best friend that's torturing them, and they deserve better, and they know it now. Well, there's a massive market opportunity, right? Approximately 49.2 million adult tobacco users, and 67% have expressed a desire to quit. So there's a clear opportunity to serve this market more effectively. Number 15, something I highlighted at the top of this. This is a leading reason people seek out hypnotherapy, and there's a demand for innovative approaches. So not only can you have this fulfilling and lucrative career, you get to significantly impact lives, the lives of the client in front of you. And when you help that person free themselves from smoking, guess what? Their offspring and the people around them, the chances of them ever picking it up plummet. So it's a multidimensional impact in a multitude of ways. We're going to be doing so much good. The next item on here is the hesitation, a hypnotist. So yes, this is something that people associate with hypnotherapy, yet it's one of the things I hear the most hesitancy around, which again means if you're willing to embrace the unknown, you get to be a leader in this space and significantly impact people's lives while making a living doing the type of work you love. Developing the ability to help clients discover things. It's not just about the session, it's about facilitating client discoveries for lasting change. I think you can rightly assume this is going to impact every area of your life because we're working with people in such a way that it makes communication in general easier. We get to really learn how to understand what's going on with folks. Empowering change, focusing on post-session actions and how to transform doubt into empowerment for client growth so that client can continue to grow way after the session. This becomes a massive source of referrals for you on the back end. You get lifetime access to all future training sessions, continuous learning, unmatched support, right? I'm all in on this. I can't wait to help a million people quit smoking. I can't wait to have you be a part of it. Zero pre-session preparation. So you're going to save time and stress. We just approach sessions with confidence because we already know we can't quit smoking for that person. Ultimately, the skill we're developing becomes how do we operate from that standpoint in such a way that it makes it easy for the client to quit. Kickoff price $997. Initial sessions are going to be July 18th and 19th of 2025. Then we're going to do a bonus day on the 25th. It's going to be marketing. It's going to be strategy, all the different things I do to get people to book calls with me and become successful non-smokers on the marketing and business side. We're going to cover that on the 25th. Join us, make a significant impact while enjoying the personal and financial rewards of helping those in need. Let's help 1 million people quit. I do want to look at this testimony from earlier, $2,500. So if you pay me $997, get one client at $2,500. You already have an ROI. August 21st was 3 years since I've touched a cigarette. So understand that I'm following up with these people for years after. They become an amazing source of referrals. This one says, laugh out loud, I'll have to hit you up soon. I don't know what you did or said, but really felt like no cigarettes and still do. It's weird, right? Amazing, saving money. Everybody's so happy. Yes, this process is so effective. I love learning how you guide your clients through their process. This person said, I feel light and really calm and assertive. I get chills like that when I hear someone singing or I know they're full of talent and heart. I don't know what part it happened on, but it was like a vibration. I don't do any singing in my sessions, but I also don't know what that client's unconscious mind needs to experience to free themselves from smoking forever. And I don't need to. Their unconscious mind will show us. Chewed for half my life, month and a half, 6 months free. This is one of the people that I talked about earlier that had that horrific experience as a child, taking their business on the road. Deep vape addiction after 25 years, 138 days smoke free. Once I decided that it was not a chemical dependency or physical one, smoking, I didn't value myself as a human being. 45 years of smoking, right? It's gone. 1 year, 2 months smoke free, 6 months smoke free as of yesterday. Still not smoking cigarettes, about to be 1 year. So it just kind of keeps going, right? It's neat. About 35-minute session there, $1,500 for a client. If you're contemplating signing up, do it. You won't regret it. 10 clients, one session. You can see there's all kinds of wild stuff here. Another first time doing a one session change, which is great. Here's an example, 16 sessions with another therapist, then one session with one of my students. Amazing. It's just incredible. The client's unconscious mind is so powerful. Here's another example, 1 year smoke free. If you're interested in this mission, book it on your calendars now. Don't wait. I'm setting it up on the weekend because if you're working part-time, I want you to be able to experience this fully, really take as much out of it as possible, start to apply it, start to get ROI in your hypnosis clinic. That's the goal. So every one of these training days is on the weekend and making it easy for you. I can't wait to see you there, folks. Take care.